Hello, welcome everybody. I'm really excited to have you all here. I'm really looking forward to this class. I've been preparing for a while. I trust you can all hear me fine, and I trust you can hear my keyboard fine if I play sort of that kind of thing. So if you can't, if you want me to turn up the volume, let me know now. You can let me know in the comments. So just some really quick housekeeping. This is the first of 3 lessons I'm going to be doing over the next week. This is 3 major lessons in essential musical skills. They're all going to be free, and there's one today, and then there's one next Tuesday, and then the third one is going to be on Friday. So that's 1 week from today. So for some of you, these lessons could be significantly transformative in terms of your musical education. I mean, genuinely, I don't like to use the word life-changing, but it does change the way you think about and make music. I mean that very literally, that when you start developing these skills, it just changes everything about how you approach music. These are the skills which feed into all of your music making. So I'd really encourage you to focus in, turn off your distractions if you can, and immerse yourself in this class just for a little bit, because it's going to be interactive. I'm going to be giving you challenges and games which you can sing along with or play along with at home. So if you can, just focus in. And I do also draw energy from your comments as well. So leave comments as we go through the lesson. I love interacting with you in the comments through the lesson. So finally, the last thing to say is, if you haven't officially signed up for the workshop yet, then I would definitely recommend doing that. There's a link in the description, because these lessons on YouTube are only a small part of the whole experience. And when you sign up for the full workshop, which is free, by the way, I will be sending you actual exercises and games that you can play in order to practice the skills that we talk about in these lessons. And I will be offering extra bonus lessons, which will go deeper on skills like ear training and reading music, and that's just for the people that sign up for the workshop. It's totally free, but if you sign up, I'll be able to send you extra bonus exercises, bonus lessons and things. So there's a link in the description below. It's insidethescore.com/music workshop. And I'll also be running discounts and special offers on some premium courses for the whole week for those who are interested in taking these skills even deeper. So anyway, let's get started. So what is this all about? This is all essentially about becoming better musicians. And all of us have different goals, right? And I'm curious what your musical goals are if you want to start leaving comments. Because about a year and a half ago, around the time that the whole pandemic started, I surveyed my audience. And what I found is that there was a whole diverse array of things that my audience wanted to achieve musically. Many of you want to become better composers, right? And I'm sure that many of you watching want to be better composers. Many of you also want to become better performers or players. And many of you simply want to enjoy listening to music more. You want to enhance your experience of enjoying music. Some of you, fewer of you, but some of you want to become conductors. And then some of you want to become better teachers. Actually, many of you want to become better teachers and educators. So there is one sort of common link which will apply for anybody with these goals. I see in the comments, there's music teachers. Some people want to be orchestral conductors. Some people want to be a better choral singer, violist, all kinds of things. So this does apply for you. But there's a certain set of skills which are sort of necessary to learn, or if not necessary, then extremely helpful to learn, which apply for all of these professions. And these skills are in a sort of branch of what I would call musicianship. So this workshop is essentially about teaching you how to develop those essential core musicianship skills. And these are skills that will feed into and enhance pretty much all of your music making. It will literally make you a better musician no matter what way you look at it. So in this lesson in particular, I'm going to be talking about working on your ear training and also sort of mentally processing music. And that might be the most important skill of all, actually. And then in 2 lessons time, we're going to be looking at working on, sorry, did I say 2 lessons? In the next 2 lessons, in lesson 2, we're going to be looking at sight reading, how you can apply ear training skills to your sight reading, and we're going to then look at your writing skills and additional skills and how you can really build these skills up like a pyramid. How all three different skills, ear training, sight reading, and writing, they all kind of combine together. They're more than they're more than the sum of their parts. So all of these skills are really important to build. And I bracket these three skills under the label of essential musicianship. They're sort of the holy trinity of musicianship. And over this workshop, I'm going to explain why each of these three skills is so essential. So my goal across the 3 lessons of this workshop is to show you how you can develop your ears, how to develop your reading skills, and how to develop your writing skills. And I will also show you exercises that you can do at home to improve your skills, no matter where you're starting from. Bear in mind that today I'm going to have a wide-ranging audience here. There's going to be all sorts. There's going to be complete beginners, and there's going to be more advanced people. There are probably some people who are reading music at university right now. So the exercises in this lesson are going to be fairly basic because I want to make sure that even beginners can do them. But you should know that these exercises can progress until they're fiendishly difficult. You know, I'm talking university master's level of difficult. So even though today's exercises may be easy for some of you, you can take these skills to a very advanced level, and that will reap so many benefits. So anyway, I'm curious, how many of you do struggle with sight reading? And, you know, leave me a comment. I'm curious, how many of you struggle with sight reading? Or how many of you feel unconfident in your ears? You know, that when you're listening to music, you're not quite sure what's going on, or you're not quite certain that your ears are dependable. You know, you feel like they could be a lot better than they are. Or maybe for you, it's writing music. So you might be able to hear music in your head. You might have all these ideas in your imagination, but you don't have the skills to actually capture that on paper. You can't capture that music because you don't have that writing skills. And other people still have difficulty processing or making sense of music. And that can be just simply listening to music and being unable to follow it. I'm getting all these comments saying, me, hands up, me, my ears suck. Some people saying, no, my ears are fine. Right, sight reading and the piano I have a hard time with. And of course, sight reading on some instruments is particularly hard because some instruments go especially fast, and some instruments you're playing many notes at the same time. So yeah, lots of people have these issues, and believe me, I know how frustrating it can be to be listening to music or to be trying to figure out something musically, but being utterly frustrated because your ears haven't been trained yet. Or if you're struggling to read through music, even though, you know, other people around you might seem to find it super easy. You know, if you've ever been in a choir or an orchestra, you might have experienced this, where other people find it super easy and you're really struggling with reading music. Or maybe you tried to write music down before, and you might have music going down in your head, but you can't capture it, or you can't figure out exactly what the right notes are. And that can be very frustrating. Interestingly, I just saw a comment of someone saying, I'm good at sight reading, but not confident in my ears. And that's really interesting because if you're good at sight reading on some instruments, what sight reading means is pushing buttons, essentially. You know that this note means push this button. This note means push that button. You know, on the piano, if I see a C in the music, I press C and it works. If I see a F, I press F and it works. But learning to train your ears means you can look at a piece of music and actually hear the relationships in your head. It's more about just training your ears. It's about training your brain. And that's something we're going to get onto later today. I just saw a comment and it just triggered that reaction. Anyway, I know what this is like because I've felt behind the pack before musically. I know it can feel like that, or even that you're missing out on opportunities because you lack those skills. And it can also lead, obviously, to lack of confidence or even stagnation in your musical progress. And if you have struggled with these skills, even if you've been with music for a while, you're not alone. Because unfortunately, I get the impression, and maybe it's just where I live, but I get the impression that this is becoming the new normal in music education. And I wonder what your experiences are globally, because my impression is that music education has been taking massive funding cuts globally. And so many people have to go beyond the school system to actually get a quality music education. But what that also means is that the standards have changed for what's expected and not necessarily for the best. So nowadays, most schools don't really care too much about training your ears or about training your reading and writing abilities. And I think that actually they're doing you a disservice. They're holding back on the education that you really deserve, because having these skills can take you so much further into the world of music. You know, as I said, whether you want to be a performer, a composer, a conductor, a teacher, or even a better listener, these skills are really essential and they will help you a lot. Imagine trying to teach a child English literature, for example, without ever teaching them how to read or write. They don't know how to read or write, but you're still going to teach them English literature. Most people would think that was a crazy endeavor, wouldn't they? You'd be holding them back from experiencing the full richness that music has to offer. But in the last few decades, being unable to read and write music has become the norm, at least in most places. The thing is, this actually has consequences that go far beyond simply reading and writing, because sight reading is not simply about learning to read. It's about learning how to mentally process music. Similarly, ear training and writing are about learning to make sense of the music that you're hearing or imagining. So it's not simply about learning to read and write. That's all good, but it's not simply about that. It's about learning to mentally process and make sense and really truly understand on a deep level the music that you're dealing with. So as you develop these skills, you will begin to see how they take you so much further. By developing your musicianship, you will learn to fully process and understand the music you're making. And this will significantly enhance your music making abilities. Performers, composers, conductors, or teachers, musicianship is key. Anyway, I think you get the point, but it will utterly transform your music making from the ground up. So I've been through this. Very quick story, and then we're going to get to the ear training. But I have been through this because when I was about 15, I started to get really into music. Something just lit me off, and I started devouring every book, watching every video I could about music, and it was pretty obsessive behavior. And maybe some of you had that too. I know a lot of people, when they go into music, they have very musical parents, or they have, musical families, and so they're naturally brought into that. I didn't really get into music until I was 15. And so when I started, I thought, I've got to read everything I can. I've got to discover all the rap I can, because I feel like there's a whole universe out there for me to discover. I'm still discovering it today. So I worked really hard anyway, and I was reading loads of books, and I was lucky, and I managed to get a place at sort of a university I really wanted to go to. It's Cambridge University. And the thing is, I'd never focused seriously on those core musicianship skills. I'd read a lot of books. I was great with the history, with the analysis, but I never focused on ear training, sight reading, or writing. And sure, I could do a little bit. I wasn't completely incompetent, but I'd never really taken these skills seriously. And so I remember turning up for day one of choir rehearsals, and we used to sing in that building 3 or 4 times a week. That's me in my little white t-shirt and jeans. Great fashion sense. So anyway, day one of choir rehearsals, and we were given a new piece, and I was trying to read through it. And this was the kind of choir where you are expected to just be able to read in one go. This is not the sort of group where you're given several hours or many rehearsals to learn the notes. You get one sing through and then you're working on the performance. You're expected to get it right first time. And so there I was, struggling through the music, just trying to read the right part, trying to get through the bass clef and everything. And the conductor stops me and he says, "Oscar," and he stares right into my eyes and he says, "Oscar, you will capsize the whole ship if you do that." It was a pretty deflating experience, to say the least. Imagine just staring right into your soul and saying, "You will capsize the whole ship," in front of 30 people who I'd never met before. But it was a sort of moment of realization that my peers, the people around me, were cruising through this music and I hadn't developed the skills yet. And so I definitely felt left behind, at least for a little while. But that actually lit a fire under me in a funny kind of way, in a kind of sort of whiplashy way almost. I started staying up late, seriously working on it, taking ear training seriously, taking reading and writing skills seriously. And every night for my first year of university, if I had a night in, which admittedly wasn't every night, every night that I could, I would spend some time working on this because I wanted to be better and I wanted to keep up with this award-winning group. And actually doing this paid off in so many more ways than I had imagined. Because yes, I started to be able to keep up with this amazing choir that I wanted to sing with. I started being able to handle the music that they were throwing at us. But it actually took me a lot further than that too, because I started conducting. And when you start conducting, you realize how critical these musicianship skills are for conducting, that you can hear exactly what's going on in the music. And you can look at a score and hear in your head and also hear in real life exactly what's supposed to be happening. And if someone making a mistake, you can hear that was a mistake. They played an F instead of a D or something. You can hear all that because you've trained your musicianship. And I started composing too. And again, when you can hear music in your head and write it down exactly as you hear it, or play it exactly as you hear it, musicianship skills are critical for that. So at the time, I was doing this to keep up with my choir, but these skills gave me so much more than that. They gave me the ability to really dive deep into music, to study scores, to compose more, to be more confident as a musical director, and to enjoy listening to music more. And so that's why I really care about delivering a high quality music education, I guess. That's why I really care about giving people quality music education, even if they weren't able to get one in school. And that's why I've spent time over the last 3-4 years helping people to learn about music on this YouTube channel and otherwise, and helping people to develop these skills, because these skills really do matter and they really do make all the difference, and in every way they are life enriching. So the big thing I wanted you to get from all that is that it is very possible to learn musicianship, and even if you're starting very late, by the way, it is very possible to learn musicianship, and actually you can develop it more quickly than you'd expect. And the other thing is, in order to learn musicianship, you need to train, all right? You can't just learn musicianship from books as if it's theory. You actually need to practice it. Musicianship is a skill, not just knowledge. So you actually need to train this by using what you learn. And that's why later on in this workshop and later on in the whole week, I will be sending you games and exercises to try at home. And if you are signed up for the full experience, which is free, by the way, link in the description, I will be sending you exercises and additional things to really train up. So the important thing is to train, all right? You can learn theory from books, that will give you knowledge, but if you want to develop the practical skills, you need to train them. That's how you turn knowledge into something practical. That's how you turn it into something instinctive, where you can do it almost intuitively, where you really get it and people really notice that you have that ability. So you can absolutely learn this. It's easier than you think if you focus on the right techniques and the right systems. There are clear progressions you can take to consistently develop these skills and enjoy yourself along the way. So anyway, let's talk about ear training. Enough of this sort of big introduction, but I just wanted to make it absolutely clear just how key training your musicianship is to your sort of quality of life as a musician, if you will. I just checked through the comments. Another Korkar, passionate and obsessed, or didn't really get passionate obsessed until they were 15. Exactly the same. No, I'm not in the same clothes. This has stripes. It's not white t-shirt. Also wearing shorts. Anyway, all right. Ear training. That's today's lesson. This is about training your ear. And this is the bulk of what we'll talk about today. Everything comes from your ear. And by the way, when we say training your ear, what we really mean is training your brain, your musical brain. It's about understanding the relationships between different notes. So if you've ever heard someone say they have relative pitch, and a lot of people, you'll ask them, do you have perfect pitch? And they say, no, I've got relative pitch. Relative pitch means that they have learned to hear the relationships between all the different notes in the Western scale. They can hear and process how music hangs together, as it were. So I'm going to start this very simply at the very basics. And some of you will be beyond this. As I said earlier, I'm starting at the basics for the beginners here. Some of you will be well beyond this, but know that these exercises can get infinitely more complex, whatever level you're at. So the real trick to understanding music well is to understand that in most Western music, every note has some kind of relationship with every other note. So we want to think of music not just as a series of notes. We want to think of music tonally. And by that, I mean that the notes have a specific relationship with each other. So if you want to get really good at reading, writing, and understanding music well, we want to understand those tonal relationships, the relationships between the notes. So let me explain. Music, especially tonal music, will often have a home note. So we could call this a tonal center, right? Tonal center. Music has a home note called a tonal center. Then every other note will be somehow related to that home note. So for example, I'm going to put the old headphones on. Ouch. If I play this pattern, all right, we could say that this is my home note. This is the tonal center, the home note. This is the note from which we derive every other relationship. And instead of calling it a home note, I could call it a tonic. Tonic basically means the home note or the tonal center, tonic. That's a very common word in music theory, the tonic. So we could call this note number 1. 1. And then we could sing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like that. I know I'm a bit out of tune with the piano. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is actually how I started to learn to develop my ears. I used to use numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can go further. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll get onto that later. But let's just start with 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's numbers. Now there's actually another method for this, which is popular in the rest of Europe and in America. And for some reason, I don't know anyone who was taught this method in Britain, but the rest of the world seems to use it. And it's called solfege, right? It's called solfege, but it's exactly the same principle. So we have a home note, a tonal center, a tonic. Let's say it's this. But instead of calling it 1, we call it do. By the way, someone in the comments says, "Can I say tonic when referencing modal music?" Yes. Yes. If there's a clear tonal center, if there's a clear home note, then yes. Sorry, all the wires in the way. So that's clearly home note. Sorry, I've got notes on the piano and I got wire on the piano and a microphone in the way, so it's quite awkward to wrap my hands around. Anyway, solfege. So instead of calling the home note 1 with solfege, we'd call it do. Do. And then we can go do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Of course, you might recognize this from The Sound of Music if you never learned solfege. Solfege is used in The Sound of Music. Do, a, did, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So she teaches solfege through a brilliant song. It's a really good song. So let's just start with these first 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or if you prefer, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. I prefer numbers, but I've seen how amazing solfege can be as a teaching technique. So the reason I prefer numbers is because I'm very good at forgetting words. My sister always makes fun of me that I used to be a singer and I used to sing a lot. And she'd say, you can sing all these songs, you can remember all these tunes, but you can never remember a single word. Whereas she can't sing a note. She's pretty unmusical, but she can remember every word. She can memorize a Shakespeare play. She can memorize a pop song listening to it once. I forget words just like that. So I find these syllable things really confusing. Whereas I loved sciences through high school, and so the numbers thing just clicked for me. But maybe solfege will click for you. The numbers thing just clicked for me. I've never known anyone to actually teach numbers. It's just how I sort of process music myself. And so it's how I sometimes teach it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So here's the crazy thing. I can actually change where the tonic is. I can actually change our home note to find a new tonic, to find a new tonal center. So instead of starting here, let's say our home note is here. This is our new home note, our new key, if you like. We've changed keys from here to here. So now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, mi, re, do. See, I've already messed it up. Solfege isn't my thing, but I've seen how amazing it can be for other people. So we've shifted where our tonic is, and therefore we've shifted our series of tonal relationships because our tonic, our home note, has moved. So if you take this note, let's take this. You know, if this was our tonic, then this would have one relationship with it. But if this was our tonic, it has a completely different relationship with that note. When you change the tonic, you change the series of relationships. In other words, when you change the home note, you change the series of relationships. So in one key, if this is our home note, we can go, that would be mi, do, or 3, 1. If we change the tonic to here, now it's mi, do, or 3, 1. Whereas this note means something completely different now because we've changed our tonal center. All right? So I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense how you change key, how you can establish different tonics, and it completely changes the relationships between all the notes. So I'm going to give you some exercises so this can really sink in. You know, the idea that if this is 1 or if this is do, then 1, 3, 1 or do, mi, do has a very particular relationship, right? You can even play them together, do, mi, do. Or what about 1, 5, 1 or do, so, do? Very unique relationship, which is different relationship from, that's do, mi, do. That's a different relationship. Do, so, do, or 1, 5, 1, or even you could go 1, 6, 1, do, la, do. It's a different relationship. Each of those notes have a different relationship with the home note, the tonic. So let's start with some pretty basic exercises. I'm going to do a couple of exercises here, and you can sing along at home if you really want. And if you really want to practice this with tons of exercises, then you can sign up for the full workshop just in the description below, insidethescore.com/music workshop, and I will be emailing a bunch of exercises you can practice between lessons. And by the way, don't take these exercises lightly. Some of these early exercises may seem very easy to you, and that's fine, but these are actually critical. Getting to that instinctive level where you can intuitively, instantly recognize tonal relationships, how one note relates to the next, or how one key relates to the next. That's the absolute backbone of your musicianship. So doing these exercises will give you a physical intuition for how the different notes of the scale relate to each other. And when you do these exercises to a high level, when you develop that intuition, you'll then be able to recognize and follow key changes. You'll become substantially better at sight reading. You'll be able to hear music in your head and write it down on paper. And you'll be able to hear music and play it instantly on your instrument. So do not be deceived if these early exercises seem trivial. I'm starting with the easy ones, but the rabbit hole can go very deep. And learning this skill to a high level is the backbone of musicianship. So let's do a few here to get you familiar. And I want you to sing along at home or on the bus, on the subway, if you can. Actually sing along. Sing, vocalize them, you know. Actually sing la la la, or 1, 2, 3, or do, re, mi. Because actually vocalizing them makes a huge difference. Because you're actually embodying music. Instead of just thinking about it and going, okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. If you actually embody it, it just really enhances and speeds up the learning process. It's the same as, you know, you could read a book on how to be a great tennis player or how to be a great cook. But if you're not actually practicing it physically, then you're not really learning the skill. So I'd encourage you to sing or vocalize these at home, even if you don't have a perfect voice. It does make a huge difference. So let's start with the basic. We've actually already done this one, but I'm going to start it on a new tonic. I'm going to start it here. So what we're going to do, here is your new home note. So we start 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Nice and easy. That's just getting used to it. Or we can start it on numbers 1 through 5, okay? 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that gives you all the relationships. You know, you could go 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 5. You know, all of the relationships are there. Now, we can do something a little more tricky by doing thirds, all right? So this thirds one, you can try it at home with me if you like. If you go 3 good notes, rhythm bad. Yeah, it's weird performing this to a camera because you're conscious of being too slow or too fast. Don't worry about the rhythm. The music hasn't worried about the rhythm. But sing along at home in any case. 2, 3, 4. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so. And then we'll go down again. So, mi, fa, re, mi, do. Once again, let's do that one more time. A little faster. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so. So, mi, fa, re, mi, do. And now we could do it in numbers just once, because that's how I've always processed these tonal relationships. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5. 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. It's funny, some people find solfege easier. I find numbers way easier. I find solfege confusing. It trips me up. And last thing is a tonic triad. Very simple. That's just do, mi, so, mi, do. Let's do it together. And do, mi, so, mi, do. And now with numbers. And 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. So you see, once you start to get familiar with what each number sounds like, or what each solfege syllable sounds like, you can start to then really navigate around the scale. If we're here, and you say, what note 4? What's note 4? You'll be able to go 4, or you'll be able to go, what is it, fa. See, solfege just doesn't stick with me. Fa, do, fa. And if you do it on a completely different note, when you get good at it, you know, you can go fa, 4, fa. A different note, random. Fa, or 4. You know, you begin to get very good at hearing a new tonal center and finding where number 4 or fa is in the scale. So let's do these exercises one more time, and I'm going to do each one on a different tonal center just to test you. So here is a new tonic. We're going to do basic first. So ready, and do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now we're going to change key. Doing thirds now. And do, mi, re, fa, mi, so. And so, mi, fa, re, mi, do. And now, one more time. Tonic Triad. And do, mi, so, mi, do. So you see how these relationships transfer across different keys. And it's being able to hear a different note and immediately navigate your way around that new tonal center. So let's try a few more just to practice. Let's try a few others. So Additive Ascending. So this is pretty simple. Ready? I'll sing it first and then we'll do it all together. Or you can sing it with me the first time if you want. And do, re, do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now let's try it in a different key. Everyone together now. Ready? And do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now we're going to do it one more time, but you are going to do it with numbers, just to see what works well for you. I noticed one person says numbers much better than I don't know why people are saying 1.5. I don't know. I prefer numbers. You might prefer solfege. Let's just try it with numbers. New key again. bloody wires. D, 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 D. There we go. Ready? And 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. How's that going? So now we'll try the next one, which is additive descending. So now we're going to start at the top. We're going to start at so, or number 5, if you prefer. So let's start in this key first. So how do you get from do to so? Or how do you get from 1 to 5? Now, for some this might be easy, but this is why we're practicing these skills. It's so that you can learn that do, so, that's what so sounds like in relation to do. Or 5, that's what 5 sounds like in the relation to 1. You know, I've done this so many times that I can do it instantly. You know, it's not difficult for me. But if you're starting out, then these exercises will really help you to get good fast. So in this case, we're starting on 5 or so. So let's go. 3, 4. Someone says, oh, right. Daffer says, this would be better if we could see the notes in the grid instead of in a blank space. So there's a reason that I'm doing this way first. And next week, on Tuesday, we will be doing notes in the grid. But this is not about sight reading. So actually, it wouldn't be better. It would not be better if it were in the grid, because this is not about sight reading. This is about intuitively, mentally, and orally learning what the relationships between the notes sound like. So the grid would get in the way. The grid would distract you from the real point, which is learning what the relationships of the different notes sound like. Okay? And see, yeah. So let's start 1, 5. And by the way, someone said this is difficult as well. And of course, we're moving at quite a quick pace for some. And this is the thing about balancing it, that some people are more advanced, some people are still learning or right at the beginning of their journey. We're moving fast, but I will send examples that you can practice at home if you sign up for the workshop. And there is linear progressions you can take to work at your own pace. So while this might seem fast for some in the lesson, this is just a linear... Sorry, it might seem fast for some in the lesson. There will be opportunities for you to practice this at home. So let's go. Additive descending. So if this is do, then we start with so, fa, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, do, mi, fa, so. Now, what if we try that in a different key, you know? What about here? So how do we find so from here? Well, in your head, maybe you'll want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or do, re, mi, fa, so. That's how I used to do it. You figure it out that way. Or you could even have a special song that you use to remember that distance. So the difference between do and so, or 1 and 5 is ba, ba, ya, da, do, dee, do, 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 you know, ba, ba. Anyway, let's do it now with numbers. So here is our tonic. So we'll go and so fa, mi, fa, so. Sorry, I was going to do numbers, wasn't I? 3 and 5, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that will start to teach you about tonal relationships. And while you're doing all of this, of course, you can begin to hear what these notes are. So what is this relationship? If this is the tonic, and I want you to write in the comments. So this is the tonic. Here is our tonal center. Now, what is this relationship? And you can say it in numbers. So 1, 1, or do, do. Any answers appreciated. Of course, there's a little delay between my speaking and you're doing it. So that's question 1. What about this one? And what if we start on a different note? So this is still our tonal center. Now what if we go... So people are getting the first one, 1, 3, 1, yep. What about that? If this is our tonal center, right? What is that relationship? Yeah? So people are still getting the 1, 5, 1. There's a little delay in chat, I think, between my speaking and your doing it. And what about if we're going, what is this? Yeah, 4, 2, 4 is right. That was 4, 2, 4. 4, 2, 4, or fa, re, fa, if you like. Yeah, people are getting it. People are getting it. So do, re, do, ya, re, fa, right? What's that? 5, 2, 5, exactly. All right, so you begin to hear how this can improve our oral skills too. When you get familiar with this, whether you're using numbers or solfege, and some of you might want to use numbers for all kinds of reasons, you begin to hear how this will improve your oral skills, because you can actually begin to hear relationships. I know some people are finding this difficult, and that's okay, because this is something you train. This is not something you get done in one introductory lesson. All right, so do not worry if you're finding this difficult. You can introduce the full scale. You can go even deeper, of course. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1 again. Or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, of course, the top note in the scale is equivalent to the bottom note. We call those octaves. They're the closest possible music relationship because they basically sound like it's the same note, just at a different pitch. That's an octave. So that's why we call it do again, every octave. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know, and on and on and on. That's all about octaves. That it's basically the same note in terms of tonal relationship, right? So do is the same an octave up because it's the same tonal relationship. All right? So you can go even more advanced with exercises like these. We could do one if you like, although maybe I'll just send them to you in email because I've got many more of these that you can practice at home, and there'll be audio tracks so you can listen along at home too and hear what's going on. But there are many more exercises like these, you know. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, sol, fa, la, so, ti, la, do, ti, re, do. And down again is do, la, ti, sol, la, fa, so, mi, fa, re, mi, do, re, ti, do. Again, I prefer numbers. So if I heard 2 notes, you know it's 1, 6, or if you heard, you know it's 1, 7, or you know, it's 1, 2. You want to get so familiar with whatever system you choose that you can just know it intuitively, that you absolutely know what you're doing. All right? So you can even make up exercises at home. You can do this in the shower. You can do this in your car while you're driving. So you could, for example, I'm driving along in my car and I might go, that's la, that's my tonic. And now I might think, how do I get from 1 to 6 if la is 1? Now how do I get to number 6? La, you might go 1, 6, or you might need more time. You might have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 6, ya ba. And then you could go, wah, that's my tonic again. How do I go from 1 to 3? La, 1, 2, 3, wah, 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 wah. And then you could make it even more complicated. You could go 1, you know, how can I go from 1 to 3 to 7? La, 1, 3, 7. You know, do, mi, ti. You know, that's more advanced. Or you could keep it simple. You know, how do I go 1, 3, 5, 4, 2? La, 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 la. Trouble with saying la is it's also a solfege syllable. That's why I prefer numbers. 1, 3, 5, 4, 2. So you can practice this in the shower. You can practice this in the car until you really begin to feel fluent with it, where you begin to feel that it's absolutely intuitive. And of course, that level of intuition can go really deep. you can get to a point where you are comfortable with really complex scales and chromaticism. So if I take, for example, the Harry Potter theme tune, you know, sure, it's not the most complex thing in the world, but most of you probably know it. Once you get to a high level with solfege or with numbers, then you can figure out really quickly how to play or how to think about or how the Harry Potter theme works. I'm not going to do solfege because I'd mess it up, but Harry Potter theme, you know, 1 1 flat 3 2 1 5 4 2 1 flat 3 2 7 flat 2 5. You see, it's a bit wordy. It's definitely more wordy than solfege doing numbers. But the benefit of that as well, once you've got the numbers really nailed down, that you know all the relationships between one and every single other number, then you can go and just change the key. So that was in E. Now if I wanted to do that in C, that's my new tonal center. So I'm going to change the key. But because I'm using tonal relationships, this is easy. It's just the same again. 1 flat 3 2 1 5 4 2 1 flat 3 2 7 flat 2 5. So someone says John Williams reference. Yeah, you know I like my John Williams. But that's just an example of how you could do this. All right, I'll give you a Tchaikovsky reference for another melodist. You know, 3 2 1 6 5 3 5 1 6 5. You know, that's all being done mentally because I've spent time learning all the relationships between the different notes in the scale. So if I choose a tonic, I know how to get around that scale quickly because it's all in my head because I've practiced it, because I've trained it. And you can train it too. You can do it in the shower, you can do it in the car, whatever. You can train this too. You know, you can train it so you can hear music and know what's going on in the melody, or even what's going on in the harmony. You can understand the fabric behind music, and that'll improve your writing and your reading skills too, which we'll talk about in the next couple lessons. So again, you can sign up for the full workshop below, which is totally free. There's a link in the description, and I will send you several sheets of exercises along with some audio as well, so you can practice this at home. Some of you have found this difficult. You can practice this at your own pace, starting with really simple ones and working your way up. So I definitely recommend doing that, but hopefully you can see just how awesome this skill is, how it's the real backbone of musicianship. So your next big question might be, how does this skill transfer into the other skills? We've seen all the exercises and that's fine, but how can this skill become the backbone of our musicianship? How can we use this skill to make us better sight readers, better writers, better all-round musicians? Because what we've just been learning is transferable. When you learn this skill, it will almost automatically impact your reading, your writing, and your other musical skills. So that's what I'm going to be looking at the next free lesson on YouTube on Tuesday at 6 p.m. British time again. Same time on Tuesday. So you will use these skills to get significantly better at sight reading music. And remember, if you sign up on the official workshop page, last time I'll say it, then there'll be bonus lessons, there'll be exercises I'll be sending so you can practice at home in the meantime. So in just a moment, I will be taking your questions. But I just want to flag up that all week I will be hosting a big discount on my premium program, which is called the Musicality Training Program. And this dives deep into all of these skills. It's designed to be a complete, holistic, step-by-step training program for your musicianship, which will take you from absolute beginnings, literally the very fundamentals, the easiest elements of music, and it will take you step by step, very gradually, all the way to a university level of musicianship. This program is designed to take you and guide you every step of the way. So you will be developing the key skills needed to become a first-rate musician. This is serious training for developing performers, composers, conductors, and teachers who want to significantly raise their game. And it's designed to make sure that you are developing your musicianship from every angle. So the way that it works is you will have bite-sized, digestible lessons on music theory. You know, you might learn a very bite-sized piece, maybe a 3-minute video, maybe a 4-minute or 5-minute video on music theory. And then once you've learned that theory, you are immediately thrown into action with a variety of different games and exercises and challenges to practice what you've learned. And this program, this training program, has worked on hundreds of musicians. And you can hear about some of their awesome transformation stories later on, or you can hear about them on the website. So on top of this core program, which gives you all of this every step of the way to develop these musicianship skills from beginning to really very advanced. On top of this core program, there are a bunch of bonuses. You'll get conducting lessons. You get lessons in harmony, functional harmony. You get introduced to some of the world's greatest choral music, which actually becomes some of the exercises in later modules. So once you become proficient at reading and listening, you'll actually be introduced to Mozart's Requiem or even Bach's B minor Mass in the really late modules, or pieces by John Tavener, modern composer, that kind of thing. You will be introduced to choral music, which will become some of the exercises, which is really very fun actually. And you'll get composing challenges too. So there are a bunch of fun bonuses which will really make this really good fun and really a solid training experience for your all-round musicianship. I wanted to develop it from every possible angle. So it's super simple to get started. You can go to the website right now or after this video. It's insidethescore.com/musicality. And then you simply sign up for the program. It's the easiest process. It takes a couple minutes to sign up. And then finally, you can watch the bite-sized theory videos and follow through with the exercises afterwards. And if you follow through with the exercises and games, your musicianship will develop significantly. You will see results literally a couple of weeks. And you can see case studies on the website where people say they have achieved pretty amazing results in only a few weeks. So you can hear how other people went through this journey too. So just remember that if you do want to become a confident musician, then you need to take your training seriously. And if you do want to transform your musicianship and develop great ears and sight reading and writing skills, then your next step is to go ahead and get registered for this training program. So as I say, I'm giving about 40% off this for this week. So now is a great time to get it. And it's a back to school special. So, go wild, get started, and this will really train you up. So anyway, now finally, are there any questions on what we've covered today? And I know there's about a 10-second delay, so I'm just going to put the musicality link in the description just in case you missed it. Here we go. There we go. So now if you might need to refresh the page, but that will now be in the description, so you can check out the link. Hello, Monty. I've just seen Monty's thing. And thank you, Haley. Super stoked for the program. Came here to sing in the shower. Great. So any questions? Oscar, do you have perfect pitch? No. Marco, no, I don't have perfect pitch. And this is the thing. People with perfect pitch have gifts in many ways. But, if you don't know, perfect pitch is where you can wake up hungover on a Tuesday morning at 3 a.m. and hear a fire alarm going off and say, that's an F natural. Perfect pitch people have this uncanny gift to just be able to name pitches on hearing them. And if you haven't developed that by the age of about 5 or 6, you basically never will. I don't know if there's any known cases of people developing that later in life. Perfect pitch is a bit of a childhood gift. So for those of us who don't have perfect pitch, learning relative pitch is absolutely essential. But even if you do have perfect pitch, learning relative pitch is absolutely essential. Because I used to sing, and we'd sing Bach. And nowadays, a lot of the time, when you sing Bach, you will sing it a semitone lower, a half step lower than what is written on the page. Because, well, it's period practice. There's all sorts of reasons for doing it. But you will sing it a half step lower than what's on the page. Because I have relative pitch, that's fine for me. I just look at the notes. I hear, ooh, bloody wires. That's my tonic. I hear that's my tonic, and then I can just figure out all the relationships from there. But if you're relying on perfect pitch on this childhood gift, you're going to be thinking, what the hell is going on? I can't read this music because I see a B, but I'm hearing an A or something. Or I see a B and I'm hearing a B flat. So it confuses the hell out of them unless they've developed perfect pitch. So no, I don't have perfect pitch, and that's why learning these skills was absolutely essential for me and has changed my life. All right. Do I have a favorite composer? Not really. I go through phases. Haley, yeah, exactly. Haley says perfect pitch is a curse as well as a gift. Sam says, do you have a favorite composer? Not really. I do go through phases. Like right now, I haven't listened to Mahler in years, except for live a couple times. I suddenly decided to sort of slowly go through the complete works of Mahler. Never listened to Das Klagende Lied before, and I was really impressed by it. It's very post-Wagnerian. I can't believe how long it is as well. Maximilian says he loves the music of Gustav Mahler. I actually haven't listened to his symphonies for about 3 years now, so actually that's not quite true. When I was preparing a video on him, I went through again, but not just Mahler. You know, there's so many composers I love. There are some who keep coming back. The music of Wagner, the music of Mozart. Actually, I had a long hiatus from Mozart, and I recently came back to it and was just stunned almost to tears by it. And the music of Bach, the music of Ravel is hot topic. Thank you, Haley, for that. And you know, obviously I knew a lot of Ravel's music before, but it's back on my list again. But also, you know, it goes further than that. The music of James Macmillan, the music of, you know, I was obsessed with Lily Boulanger for a while. I don't have favorites. I have composers that I become utterly obsessed with for a while. Brahms, I've been utterly obsessed with in the past. You know, so no is the short answer. I love a lot of music, and I think that's normal. That's healthy. Okay, who's next? I'm trying to... Transposing. So Haley says transposing is extremely difficult for her. And yeah, so Haley has perfect pitch and she finds it hard to transpose. However, if you know that this is 1, 5, 3, 1, then you can go somewhere else and go 1, 5, 3, 1, or a different key. 1, 5, 3, 1, 1, 5, 3, 1, and you can you can go all over the place doing that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of different benefits to learning this kind of musicianship seriously. So any more questions? Any more questions? Whoops. Any more questions? Favorite piece of chamber music? I don't know. You know what? I was listening to Brahms' Sextet the other... Again, I go through phases. I really do go through phases where I just fall in love with certain pieces of music and then move on to other pieces of music. I don't... Maybe it is weird of me. Maybe I am a complete weirdo that I don't have one piece that I just keep coming back to again and again and again and again and again. So Olivier says, what do you think of the functional ear trainer app? Now, functional ear training apps can be very useful for training your ears. The thing is, so I've seen what these apps do, and often what it is basically interval training, learning the differences between intervals, which is kind of what we've been doing today. It's very useful as a supplement to your music education. But on its own, it is not holistic, right? It's very useful as a supplement to your ear training, as long as the app works well. I've never used one that long. I don't know how well the apps work. But it is only a supplement to a holistic music education. A true holistic music education would include reading skills, writing skills, theory lessons, and ear training as well. That's what the musicality training program offers. Is you're learning theory lessons. You're actually learning music theory, which will take you from, you know, if you're in England, it'll take you from grade 1 all the way past grade 8 music theory, these lessons in the musicality program. But all along the way, you're then learning to read what you learnt. You're learning to read the theory you've learnt. You're learning to write it. You're learning to hear it, recognize it, listen to it. So that is much more holistic in a way. Sure, these apps are great, but you want something holistic, which develops from every angle your music education and takes you further. So here we go. When we are practicing on... I've just lost it. When we are practicing on our own, how can we be sure we are singing the correct notes or are singing in tune? So Kai, if you're unconfident with this, I would start very simple with maybe just 3 notes. And what I'll do as well, hopefully you might have something like a keyboard at home. A keyboard is a great tool for just musicians in general. But you can go 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Knowing that relationship and getting really familiar inside out. Just egg it on again and again and again until that relationship feels utterly familiar to you. Okay? And you can then change the order up a bit from 3 blind mice to blind mice 3, mice blind 3. Again, the words always trip me up. So that kind of thing really can help. The other thing is, some people are just bad singers. I hate to say it, but it's true. If you're a bad singer, then you can still sort of vocalize, but hear in a very strong way, oralize in your head. There's a word for it, audiate. Imagine in your head really strongly the pitch. So you might be going, you know, and not even making a noise. You might just be thinking 1, 2, but you're making sure to really think what that pitch is. So Kai, if you're unconfident, then start small and maybe even start with a keyboard. So you're playing the notes as you sing them. And that way you will really get familiar with what it all sounds like. Smith says, with relative pitch, can you figure out only by ear which key a musical piece is? No, unless you have extra information. No, that is perfect pitch. Relative pitch is, if you have a home note, you fundamentally understand the relationships of every other note in the scale. You understand that if this random note is, you might not know what that note is if you're listening on the radio, but you damn well know that is note 4 in the scale compared to this one. So that's what relative pitch is. Do you ever experience synesthesia? No. Thank you, A.A. Riley. Bravo. Yes, Andrew. Andrew says, is the course good prep for conducting degree in school? I've got a funny story about the way I developed this method. So I built this course over the pandemic because suddenly I was freed up. My schedule just emptied, as did everyone's. And so I could finally build this program. But I actually developed these methods and learnt these methods a few years earlier when I was applying for my conducting master's degree. And I knew that my ear needed more training. I knew that my reading needed training. Because I knew when you're going for conducting masters, some of the ear tests they give you are insane. Where they're sort of like, sing the middle note of this chord or something. And you've got to think, oh shit, trying to find out what the middle note of the chord is. So I developed these skills for my own application for a conducting master's. And then I turned it into a program so that other people could follow through the same thing. So the early modules might be easy for some because they are the very fundamentals, but I guarantee that almost all of you in this video will find modules 9 to 13 pretty darn challenging, right? So yes, it is good prep. It's good prep for conducting because you're learning to train your ears and you're learning your reading. So when you hear in a rehearsal, something's out. What was that? Oh, he played an F instead of an E. That was an oboe. They played a B flat instead of a B. Whatever it is. So yes. How do I become a great music director? I feel like I sort of just answered that. A lot of... it's a mixture of having great ears, a great passion for music, great ears, great theoretical ability, a great passion for music, and an understanding of the instruments. I don't think I'm a great music director, by the way. I'm always learning. But and then ability to communicate is the other thing. That's something that I'm not teaching in the program. I'm not teaching the ability to communicate, but everything else, great ears, great theory, great reading ability, understanding of the instruments, you can learn, really. Yes, Armando, this video will be available until the end of next week, until the end of the workshop. I've just lost all the questions that I was at. Some people are worried about okay. Any more questions? Does Paul Berry have perfect pitch? I have no idea. Okay, I'm going through questions. I'll finish the lesson in a moment, but choose one, Wagner or Brahms. I can't do it. Any others? Last questions, last sort of 4 minutes, and then we'll call it. Atonal is... Salman says, atonal music is killing me. Because tonal music, of course, is relying on tonal relationships. Atonal music goes a bit further. you really have to start knowing your intervals back to front, knowing that 3-1 or 3-1 or whatever. You have to know wherever you start that what your tonal relationships are. Sorry, what your intervals are. And that's a different skill, which I didn't want to go into today because this was a lesson for mostly for beginners. So, whoopsie daisy. So, atonal music is a different skill, but you can build up these skills step by step. And actually, again, the musicality program builds up these skills so that you are learning your intervals as you go, as well as learning relative pitch. You're developing relative pitch and intervals at the same time. So when it comes to atonal music in later modules, you'll be able to navigate. It's a skill. It takes practice. You're not going to get it overnight, but you can learn this. So solfege is great for tonal music. The number system is great for tonal music, but then you have to start integrating intervals too. And as I say, the program that I've developed is holistic so that you can go through learning all these different aspects of music, and they all connect together to make you a better reader, better writer, better listener. All right. And yes, Victor says, I think it's Victor, is anyone else starting conservatory this September? Good luck to everyone who is. All right. So yes, Salman, I do cover it in the course very much. At the beginning, it's mainly relative pitch, but you will learn your intervals and then you'll be able to have more challenges. Yes, so Olivia says, no, that's not the interval, that's a scale degree. But you can still go, ya, ba, that's a perfect fourth. Ya, ba, that's an augmented fourth. Ya, da, that's a perfect a major sixth, sorry. So, yes, it is the interval. You learn scale degrees, but you're also learning the intervals. What do you think about fixed dose solfege? I'm not a fan as a Brit, but I understand other countries use it. So if I don't really have a big opinion on that, I'm afraid. Fred, that's really kind of you to say. I'm glad you've enjoyed the channel. It's a labor of love, and sometimes YouTube can be a cruel mistress in terms of I sometimes feel on the other side of a screen, and you don't know whether you're having an impact or whether you're just sending videos out into the void and things. So that is really kind of you to say. I really do appreciate it when people say that. Yes, Outweg, there are exercises for chromaticism. So I think, and Erin, yes, in the program we teach you about singing flat and sharp notes in solfege too. That it's all a completely holistic program. And Mike, again, all this kind of thing. Mike says, can you offer advice from hearing for recognizing phrases? The advice is to train it. You train it. And that's what this training program is for. Again, the musicality training program is about training so you can hear those phrases like that. And yes, for people who live in countries where it's fixed do, the number method probably helps more. So okie dokie. I think I'm gonna just about call it a day because yes, edit. I have a video course for music theory. So finally, you can sign up for the full workshop. That's for this week. It's all free, and I'll be sending you exercises. I'll be sending you the first exercises tomorrow, so you can practice before Tuesday. But you can sign up for the full free workshop. That's happening all week over here at insidethescore.com/music workshop. And then if you want a full step-by-step system for music theory, music listening, ear training, sight reading, writing, you can go to insidethescore.com/musicality. Thank you, Mike. That's kind. For saying stellar content. That's kind. Flattering the yeah. All right. So thank you very much. Keep practicing. Check out both of these links. You'll learn a lot. There's no rush. There's absolutely no rush because we have all week. There's 2 more free lessons coming where we're going to talk about sight reading and then we're going to talk about writing. So no big rush, but definitely check it out. Have a think about it because there is a big summer discount happening, a kind of back to school discount for the whole of this week until the beginning of September. So definitely check it out. I'm really proud of this program and it's helped a lot of people, and you can learn more about that on the webpage. So thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody, and have a great weekend, and I will see you Tuesday. Ciao.